Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Timone Show. I'm here with a bunch of guests. I got Jerome, I got Eli, and I got the fantastic Fat Man, Double FM. If you guys are familiar with any scripts I write, it's here. It's fantastic Fat Man's birthday, and we're here. I'm drunk. Jeremy's probably not drunk at all. He's fucking. He's like working out and shit. He's nice and fit. If you looked at him, you'd be like, that guy looks like a bum. But he'd kick your ass in a fucking second, dude. If you tempted him there, but he's not really going to. Like he's a pacifist.
He is not a pacifist.
I'm pacifist.
He gives off the impression of.
I remember the first time I saw that joke. It was on an episode of Strangers with Candy, and it was Steve Carell Stephen Colbert. He was like a faculty member on the show Strangers with Candy, and he said something about he's like, yeah, I'm a pacifist. I'll pass the fist or whatever. And he fucking did the little motion of him throwing a punch, and I was like, oh my god, it's so clever and funny. And that was in the early 2000s when I saw that show, and I was all like, oh yeah, that's fucking hilarious, because I never saw anything like it. I was like, that's fucking hilarious. I had been just learning. But what a pacifist and whatever and shit was, and I was all like, "Oh man, that's super clever," I was in my little young, unique, little fucking 15-year-old or whatever mind or whatever, however old I was when I saw that show,
Remember when you thought being 15 was I'm fucking getting there, doing shit, and then now you're like, I was a fucking baby back then. I didn't know shit.
Oh yeah, dude.
Fuck?
Absolutely.
Even at 18, you look back at 18, you're like, man, I was just fucking dumb as shit. What is going on? What was I thinking the entire time I was doing all of these things? Just, I don't know.
See, this is all my computer sees is this fucking.
Yeah.
I had one episode where I did the Pokemon Go hunt where me and were on the camera and whatever. It was ridiculous. It was fun. Robert just got out of court for something. It was an after court case.
He still has an iPhone SE in his truck somewhere, unless he found it and sold it or something.
Who, Robert Satan?
Yeah. Remember when he drove us back to town from his brother's wedding?
Oh yeah.
In his truck.
Oh wow, yeah.
That was when I was gonna buy a whole new fucking iPhone or Galaxy or whatever the fuck. And Sprint was like, "No, we're gonna have technical issues, so we can't help you." Just call the insurance, get a new one sent to me.
Oh my god, I remember that, dude. You have to deal with fucking shit all the time with all that iPhone shit, dude. Man, just fucking get a Galaxy. Just get a fucking.
I was gonna buy a Galaxy. I was going to buy a different phone entirely. But Sprint was like, well, we'll help you in a second, and then, our computer's locked down for whatever reason, even though we have an hour and a half before we're closing and shit. And we can't help you. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? I've already been here for 45 minutes waiting so that I can be helped, and now your shit's locked down. So you don't want me to buy a new phone from me. You don't want me to spend $900 on it. Okay, got you. I'm not going to spend any money on this.
$900, dude. They don't have insurance. They don't have insurance contracts and shit, dude.
I wanted a different phone entirely. I was tired of having the SE.
But if you
but since I lost my phone, I was going to do that.
that sort of plan, like after X amount of years, you're eligible for like an upgrade to a new.
I am, but I had to finish out.
You weren't okay. And then you were like, fuck you guys, dude. Like I have insurance. You should actually only have to pay a deductible to get a replacement. You know, like.
No, I mean that's what I did.
Yeah.
This is my third phone from the insurance. So I have to wait until July.
That's what I'm saying. You have to you.
But if they would have just sold me a new phone, I would have just paid this shit off, and then got a new phone.
Yeah,
so
absolutely, yeah,
like that altogether.
Yeah.
But they were being difficult assholes, and so I might as well with the insurance, and now I'm just gonna get a free upgrade.
But I want to get back onto what we were really talking about. Was the addiction gene. I think the addiction gene isn't necessarily real off of just information, just off of personal experience, just off of people I know, just off of stuff I've seen. And Mikey here, Double FM, says no, that's bullshit. It's genetic. Absolutely.
I agree with what Eli was saying. It's more. It presents itself in people who have been through fast times. It's other things and experiences that they have not been able to deal with otherwise.
But that more supports what I was saying about it being more systematic than
it could possibly be a combination of both.
Genetic.
I could see that, but I don't buy that it's just one thing, like it's genetic or this.
Like
it's a combination.
I could look at my family thing, and my family tree, off of just my mother and my father, will definitely tell me that I'm an addict, whatever, and my brother, whatever, and evidence of our lives will definitely support that. But then when you look at my our grandparents, and upon that, and my father's siblings and my mother's siblings, my grandfather was possibly an addict. He drank beer a lot or whatever, so he was possibly an addict. And then his children, my mother addict, my uncle addict, my mom's sister a possible addict for alcohol or whatever, but signs don't show us. She's been pretty successful with her life or whatever, and that doesn't necessarily negate the addict quote unquote gene. But then you look at my dad's side of the family, my grandparents, from signs, as far as I know, from signs they're not addicts. But then my father's an addict, and then I had one sister, one of my aunts was mentally challenged, but then the other three are not addicts. As far as I know, are not addicts. They live fucking like great, like homely lives, whatever. But then my mother and my father got together and birthed me and my brother, and we're both addicts. But then my father and my mother divorced, and then my father got with another addict, which is my sister's mom, and my sister has very possible roots of being an addict, but she as far as I know, she has no signs of rooting into that behavior. just like Mikey P's little brother. You know, like we both have little siblings that have experienced either directly or indirectly of what addicts have gone through or whatever, and they have been able to fucking learn what not to do or whatever, and go beyond that and go not that route or whatever. I'm not going to try that shit, because even just trying one thing or whatever will get me into a route of whatever, into a gateway of whatever, so I'm not going to go that way or whatever until maybe possibly college or whatever. Like you said, your brother didn't even drink until college, and as far as I know, my sister hasn't even had sex or fucking or done anything or whatever, and she's in her sophomore year of college and shit right now, and your brother's graduated and shit. He's married and whatever and all that stuff. And
I feel like it has to be said that addiction doesn't always come in the form of drugs and alcohol.
Absolutely,
negative.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like it can be in the form of an obsession or a drive that pushes them, propels them. Like I don't know. Like
it wants me to touch on another thing. I don't know if I should really do, but there was at one point where my sister was going through an eating disorder or whatever through the ballerina, ballet, and other dance classes or whatever. Like there might have been other girls that were going through the same thing or whatever, or doing shit to fucking keep themselves to stay thin or whatever, and she fell into that influence, and that is the sort of same thing as an addict personality or whatever. You're gonna get to where you can fall victim to something like some shit like that, but eventually she overcame it, you know, and she went through. I don't even feel what I'm talking about. I don't know. It's okay because she's been open about it, but she eventually went through some, I think she did go through some therapy or whatever, and that can always help with anybody, is fucking therapy to help you fucking break through the fucking and she broke, and then she got rid of, she took dance out of her life. As much as she loved to dance and do all that stuff, she took dance out of her life, and she took up running track. And to me and her would run. We would run together, and we would and together we were starting to try to do healthy stuff together until she went off to college. Now I don't see her as much anymore. But before she went off to college, we were hanging out all the time and trying to just get through a lot of our personal demons with each other, and just and talking through stuff that with our stuff with our father and our upbringing and our separation through our lives, and we have 11-year gap of our existence. I'm 11 years older than her, so there was a lot of times in my high school life and a lot of stuff where I didn't really acknowledge her existence because I was going through my own little high school stuff. It did. It did.
Oh, you brought her up.
I brought her up.
I met her in high school.
There was nothing with resentment. It was just, I was just going through my gene pool of genetic predisposition. That's what I was going through. It was my family tree of genetic predisposition. I was going through personal experience.
And what's your stance? You don't believe in genetically addiction?
It's 5 a.m.
Is it?
Yeah.
How long is your show?
You know, Like 30 minutes.
That just hindered everything.
Should have started
Monkey wrench.
I know, but he wasn't ready. Hold on. How long has it been? We got 10 minutes.
Alright.
Well, I mean, it's more.
You paused it?
No, I didn't pause it.
Fuck it, go for it.
No. What are you trying to say, Ellie? Casanelli?
I should probably get some sleep before my kid wakes up.
We can continue this.
All right, we'll continue this on. I'll do a 2-parter and I'll record it on the same night, or I'll upload it on the same night. So we'll stay tuned for part 2. Instead, I just decided to play both videos at once. Alright, here's part 2, guys. Restarting recording right now. This is gonna be. I'm gonna record these. I'm gonna upload both these on the same night. I did this once before on a Halloween episode with Jamar, where it's gonna be an A and a B. This part episode. So like, and they're both gonna be uploaded on the same night. It's gonna be the same episode. It's just gonna be an A and a B.
Ice Cream Cone Man?
Ice Cream Cone Man is not a current character, but he
you
will
don't
be.
know nothing about VA.
Ice Cream Cone
And the
Man,
assassin.
Ice Cream Cone Man, and Brick Cheese Man will make appearances, but not in the current run of what's good. They'll make appearances in alternate timelines and stuff like that. But like
One time I heard Malia beat, and it was Dead Press rapping.
that's this right
I
now.
was confused.
That's this right now.
Yeah, it's right now. But it sounds like VA and what's happening right now. You can see the light bulbs just glowing right now.
No, I've had discussions about this already. Like, sometimes you have to alter your original vision to make things work in an ultimate fucking run or whatever.
Right, like when an artist becomes a writer and then he forgets his talent and then just walks away from it.
No, I was never satisfied with my art.
Oh, you? Oh, self-conscious, are you?
No, I knew
said you.
I knew that's what you were talking about.
No,
Yeah.
no. I was talking about Dead Press and their underwhelming career.
They had a good enough career to what they wanted, you know, like just like there's other artists that do the same thing, like Beastie Boys, Rage Against the Machine,
Tomato. This is part B.
This is part B. This is part B.
So
Yeah.
what were you talking about?
We were talking about the addict gene.
I've never been in an attic. I always lived in apartments. So, just based on that, I'm a little confused. But, if you're talking about attic with the T sleeping on the couch.
No, it's addicts, like people who are addicted to either a substance or a personality,
Like
or
that guy, addict with a T. So you think that addicts don't exist?
no, I think addicts come from. It's more of a systematic disposition than a genetic disposition.
So anti-conformist. That's where you're going.
No, not necessarily.
But what you're telling me is that
You can break free.
all of the data that supports that if you come from a long line of addicts, that the percentage of you becoming an addict doesn't matter.
It doesn't have to, no. Like, coming from the long line addicts, like, yes, I will say that your chances of being an addict are going to be higher than a non-addict coming from an upbringing where your family is not from a long lifeline of addicts, whatever. I will agree to that extent, but I will also say that there are cases and that to where you can break free through that, either through therapy, sociology, like who you involve yourself with through like with your friends and everything, and just having a knowledge, like, and sometimes that doesn't even help because there are people who already have the knowledge of, like, yeah, I already have experienced symptoms of being an addict, whatever, where you and I can both can claim that, like, me and you both have symptoms of being addicts.
Because I'm legally diagnosed with being a first stage alcoholic. I don't know about you, but as far as the law states, I'm an alcoholic.
Right.
I've been diagnosed, gone through therapy and drug classes and all of that. And so, I mean, I can't agree with you.
They can't see me rolling my fingers saying, no, go on.
Oh. Nothing to say all of a sudden. Timone of major words. So that's crazy.
No, I do have something to say, but you
But you didn't say anything. So what are your thoughts?
My thoughts are that, like, as I already explained earlier in the previous episode, like, there are certain examples, like, we have, like, your brother and our friend, our former friend, Ryan's little brother, who were able to fucking break free of, maybe to an extent, of those confines of the genetic predisposition.
What I would say, as far as genetic predisposition, I don't know what the fuck you just said.
Disposition.
Oh,
Disposition.
Well, I feel like that's greatly in account right there. If you look at any statistics, anything, it'll show you that if you come from a family of addiction, most instances, the situations and the influence around them, the percentages, same as the parents, not the percentages, but influence, nature versus nurture,
Yeah.
is the same overall. But each one is an individual, and that being said, it's the same, and it can be changed. So there's always an exception. So just like professional athletes, NBA, players coming in from high school, which isn't allowed anymore.
Yeah.
But if you look at the list of players who went from high school straight to professional, underwhelming, not great careers, solid role players, some of them, but a lot of them like just didn't live up to the hype.
Right.
But then you got the Kevin Garnett's and the LeBron Jameses, and you always want to go to that. Oh well, LeBron.
Well, it's the same people.
AG.
It's the same people that talk about like, well, fucking Bill Gates and Steve Jobs or whatever dropped out of fucking college or whatever, and they're fucking like not just every.
They hung out together.
But
what about the Facebook guy?
He dropped out of college too.
Exactly.
That's what I'm saying. But it's not.
And then you got Kanye West. He dropped out.
But not every average schmuck can drop out of college.
So
it takes a genius to drop out of college and make a fucking.
And Albert Einstein himself.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It takes. It's
not well in school.
Yeah,
school's beneath him in his mind, which it probably was, just like that Young Sheldon show.
That show's good. That show's actually good.
It could be good. I've only seen a little bit of it, but the gist is
it's better. It's better than Big Bang Theory by far, dude. Like
that's cool. But what we're talking about,
I know.
So if you look it up in statistics, do all the research you want, and you're gonna see a lot of strong evidence stating that if your family and your parents, grandparents, blah, 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 are addicts, the percentages of becoming an addict are much higher.
I agree with that because that's what you're surrounded by, that's what you're upbringing in, and like I'm not a full exponent on fucking nurture over nature. Because I do believe that even if you do come, like, you could be a child that your mom could have been smoking crack or like doing something whatever during your whole pregnancy or whatever, you know, and that can lead into your bloodline, but that doesn't necessarily mean that that's a gene that's being that means that there has already been a substance that's been brought into your bloodline even before you were born.
I've experienced that firsthand because my mom smoked through her pregnancy with myself.
Yeah,
the whole time.
Cigarettes.
Overall, I'm healthy. Yes, cigarettes. But with my brother, she stopped smoking, which was I'm 4 years older than my brother,
right?
Or my full blood brother.
Right.
We share both parents, but she quit for his pregnancy. Yet he spent the first 4 or 5 years of his life in and out of the hospital with extreme cases of asthma, and he has asthma to this day. So she smoked while being pregnant with me, and I didn't have the problems that my brother did when she stopped smoking.
But that could also be a symptom of, like, with her quitting smoking at the time, like, with how her body was already working, like a
genetic disposition.
No, the nicotine was already a fucking
dependency.
It was already a part of her body and shit. And then when she had that lack of dependency, or whatever, or she had that lack of substance, whatever, when she was doing the opposite with your brother, you know, it could have resulted in some defects and whatever there, because her body was relying on this chemical at the time to fucking
that's bad
for a minute amount of sustenance.
Right,
and that minute amount of sustenance.
Forever. And just like you're talking about, you don't believe that becoming an addict is genetically passed down and so and so. I can agree with that to an extent, but at the same time, not fully, and I will lean towards the other side. And that's because of things that I've witnessed and that I've been a part of firsthand, where I have half siblings which my dad, ex-heroin addict,
Yeah.
and their mom, heroin addict. And I have a brother and sister who I never met. DCFS came and they got adopted by some great parents, and they live a completely different lifestyle than my older brother and sister and me and my full-blooded brother. So there's 6 kids, 2 of which completely different circumstances, but not taken away from me and my little brother, my full-blood brother, but are still completely different circumstances from the oldest 2.
Right.
But if you look at my dad, heroin addict, their mom, heroin addict, my oldest brother, crackhead, and my oldest sister, numerous mental illness. She gets a check for being mentally unstable and everything else. Like, she gets paid just for living, for being mentally unstable. And then you got the middle 2 who got taken away from everything. That's the nurture. Yet, my brother, which I've never met either one of them, but my brother apparently went to Howell High School, not far from 205, where I spent roughly half of my academic career.
Right.
And he's an addict. But he had all of the best positive influences that you could want in a family. But yet, he was drove there. So, on my personal experience, like, this isn't everyone. This could be a magical exception to fucking, you know,
I mean, but that
child.
that's exactly that same thing could happen to.
But then you got my little brother who grew up the same as me. Granted, we have different. Our mom wasn't a heroin addict. She was also like a beginning stage alcoholic, but never passed that stage in her alcoholism.
Right.
And she stayed in that beginning stage. And as she got older, she actually kind of like regressed, never relapsed, and stayed there, and eventually died of cancer. Completely unrelated. But I went through the addiction thing and my brother didn't. So the nurture part to me is like, you can't throw that in there in my personal experience.
But then, like with the examples with your little brother and my little sister, or whatever, they've learned.
Which your dad that you shared, same thing.
Yeah, my dad, crackhead, alcoholic.
Maybe different than heroin, but he wasn't crack.
Yeah, crackhead, alcoholic. But
then you got the mom difference, just like my older 4 siblings.
My sister's mom. My sister's mom is an alcoholic. She's in
full blown.
She doesn't drink and shit anymore, but yeah, she's a full blown alcoholic, dude.
And what about your mom?
My mom is just borderline addict with she's susceptible just to becoming like she smokes weed and shit all day every day, but like that's
so you and Joey should have less influence than her.
Yeah, and my sister's great.
Well,
my sister
that would support. That would go against what your thoughts are.
No, because what my sister's been
in your personal experience.
No, because she's been able to witness my life, my brother's life, my dad's life, and her mom's life. Her mom is a successful recovering addict or whatever. She's fucking made a good life for herself, and
but overall,
so she's had that for an example. And she's had my dad's life, my life, and her brother's life to look my brother
but overall,
to look up to.
Can your mom provide better or worse than her mom?
Her mom can.
So her mom can provide better than your mom.
I believe so. Yeah, like
So
my
don't
mom.
you think that plays a
I know
little
that
bit?
my mom did her best or
So
whatever,
if
but
you
like,
if you look at it as an aspect,
but
of,
there were also times where my sister's mom would call my mom fucking in
the
tears,
parenting event.
in
If you go to Roscoe
Yeah,
or
like-
Rockton, or
Yeah.
even in like in my time frame, I wouldn't consider Harlem, but I don't know how it is now. But like when there's more money around, your bottom end is gone. Like it's
you
up.
expect
It
more
goes
out
up
of
more.
your society when there's
So if
more
you're West Side
wealth and
Rockford,
whatever around.
and you go to Auburn, where half of the people that go to the school that you share are fucking welfare and just the bottom end is a lot lower. And you're taken out of that situation, and then you go up to fucking Roscoe, where the bottom end is a lot higher. And the bottom end up in Roscoe is better than the top end on the far west side.
Yeah.
So you put that in consideration, and it addresses nurture. But yet, if you can take someone who genetically is perceived to have a high expectation of becoming an addict, and they're taken out of the situation and they're nurtured into that upper echelon,
Yeah.
upper middle class, lower upper
It doesn't even
class.
need to be an upper echelon. There's
And
like,
they're raised that way,
just look
but
at-
yet they become an addict.
but look at I know this is fictional, but look at that show This Is Us, where they adopt a child who was genetically predispositioned to be a fucking addict.
Who says that? Because they
Because
never...
his dad was an addict.
Right, but they never tell you his dad could have been the fuck up. His parents could have been successful.
They
his
they
siblings
show you
could
his
have been.
parents' upbringing or his upbringing
He
and
could
shit.
have been the black sheep.
But exactly. Like my dad was the black sheep, and my dad's side of the family, because I have one aunt that has
But then
I have one aunt that's
we
died.
share a friend ish that we both hung out with.
Yeah,
He was a big part of our younger childhood, high school careers.
yeah. I think we might have brought him up in part 8. I'm not sure, but we can bring it up again.
I don't care to name him,
Yeah, that's fine.
but he was in a religious, God-fearing, normal family, same as his little brother. And I know you brought this up earlier because I'm thinking about it now.
I think we might have brought it up in part 8.
But he ended up going the fuck up path, addict. Maybe he's an addict, maybe he's not. Neither of us have seen him for
we haven't seen him. I know he's a
7,
cop
8,
now.
9
I mean,
years.
I know he was trying to be a cop.
No.
Oh, Ryan? Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the
I
little
don't
brother,
know.
he's overall successful. But who's to say he's not an alcoholic? We don't spend enough time with him.
We don't know it
to
all.
say
Yeah,
he's not an
exactly. Yeah,
alcoholic.
we don't know.
But in the time that we knew them,
He had
Michael, the younger brother,
he had no signs of being that way, or at least.
and where he's at now,
Yeah.
far exceeds his older brother, Ryan, who ran away for whatever reasons, probably legal because he had warrants, and whatever else. And so, but they both grew up in the same situation. So, where is the line between nature and nurture? To me, it's a very fine line because there are things of genes and dominant and recessive genes, and obviously the dominant genes take over those recessive genes.
Yeah.
So when you decide to have a kid, or a kid you inadvertently get a woman pregnant or a man if you're a woman, whatever. That shit happens. But what happens when there's two recessive genes that fight over each other? It's a 50-50. A lot of times they go one way, but then there's variables. It's 50-50 either way.
I can see that.
But then you go to the nurture, and then you add a whole third aspect of motivation, of drive, of what do you get on what you witness. So you have two brothers who grew up the same way, and one ends up just going on the deep end, doing all kinds of drugs, and the other one is like, whoa, he's staying away from that shit. And they're not that far apart in age, but one has all of the same experiences and decides to indulge, and the other one decides to fall back and kind of wait and then proceed with life without indulging, and the outcome is the later one is more successful.
But
so you got drive,
but then,
you have motivation,
but then also
then you have nature, nurture, and in that specific one, it's a combination.
This might also go against my belief, whatever, but then also same person, like, if they do indulge, like even at, like later on in their life, whatever, they can also lose that success just as quickly, whatever.
Later.
Yeah.
But as far as the first, 30 years now?
Yeah.
Like,
that's all we know. That's all we know is 30 years of existence, you know, like.
Right. So you got all of that under your belt. And then you got my experience with my siblings and my parents and my half siblings and their parents and yours and all of that. And it's like you look at all of that and you fall back, and then you see people you went to school with and their families, which a lot of times kind of overlap in the same fashion. And you see where everyone is 5-10 years after high school, because that's all we can do right now.
I have one thing, like you have people like Junkie Jasper Jones. Like he grew up
only child.
He was only child, and he grew up.
I've never heard anything about his mom.
I have, because I didn't go to one of his sleepovers, but I was invited to. But Liam went to one of his sleepovers, and he said like his house was awesome. They had like intercoms and shit where you could communicate from room to room, and like
all his mom's
and his parents' house.
See, I met him way later in life on his dad. And his dad lived in a trailer park, and we hung out and did trailer park trash shit.
This was his mom's life. This was his mom's life, dude. Like he had like all this fucking
and
rich ass.
He was also into heroin himself.
Yeah, but this was before then. Like I think he was into drugs and shit, man. Because this was middle school, early high school, yeah, like at his mom's house or whatever. From what I've heard, like he had intercoms and like he had a closet full of fucking like preppy ass clothes and shit, but he still wore like all the grungy fucking like Kurt Cobain, whatever grunge.
To each his own.
But yeah, he had his own style and shit. But like he had all this fucking shit that was available to him, like he had like all the game systems, he had like all this fucking shit or whatever. But also I don't know how he was brought up. I don't know like if his mom like paid like attention to him or whatever instead of just showering him.
Problems herself.
Or she had problems or towels or I don't know anything about that. I just know that he had like all this shit.
I know his dad was an odd guy.
And he had the option to grow up and either like this fine
Right.
home,
And it's like succumb or fight.
or grow up in the trailer park with your dad or whatever, and he chose what he felt himself to be more comfortable with or whatever, you know.
And
Like,
he went through his problems in adolescence, and now he's got problems still, but he's trying to overcome them because he's a dad now. He's
a dad now, and he's gone through rehab and therapy and all that other.
And he's done all that, and he changed his vice from drugs to like working out, and
to fucking ripped it out.
Right. So I mean, everyone's got vices.
Yeah.
But it's not strictly on what your genes say. It's not strictly on how you were brought up. It's a conglomerate of all of it. And then the bottom line is the individual themselves. That's why you have the Kevin Garnett's and you have the LeBron Jameses, and then you got the other motherfuckers that come.
That's what I'm saying. Like you can.
Their drive was great, and then they lacked up, or they were talented, but then they fell off, or they didn't have the focus, or they didn't have the drive, and that's what separates it. Just like in sports, like. So you got these people who live certain circumstances, and they come from certain families, but there's all these factors, and it comes to the drive. Like, how good do you want to be at whatever? It could be anything. How do you want to take anything? So for me, I'm fucking hard-headed.
Right.
I gotta live life myself.
Yeah.
For my brother, he can let me live life, and he can learn off of my choices and make his own better choices. He can live off of my older brother's choices.
I have a little bit of balance of both. Like, I'm slightly hard-headed myself, but then I also I
you got that.
Look at other
and
shit.
Individuals are individuals, but you have that underlying thing. So if you're around weed all the time, but you never decide to indulge because of your own thoughts, because you have the ability to say no, and you have the ability to say away from it, you could still have the tendency of being an addict, but since you chose not to, and you never indulged in
it's the company that you're choosing to be around, you could still
right.
Like it's like I'm saying, like it's a personal choice.
Exactly.
But
at the same time, that doesn't change the fact that if you did eventually, because I went to high school with a lot of people that talk shit about me smoking weed.
Yeah. And you could easily,
after high school, or even towards the end of high school, upper class, and they're doing harder drugs than I'm doing, and I'm still smoking weed, and now they're into cocaine or heroin.
Yeah.
These are the same people that are frowning on me for smoking weed, like they're above and better than that shit, and then they're doing hard drugs, what's considered hard drugs.
Right.
And like that, the same situation. So if you're smart enough, or you have the drive to stay away from what you think or what you know is gonna draw you in, then yeah, that's that individual, that's that personal individuality that everyone forgets about. That's those small margins of error and all the statistics that no one wants to compensate for. So if you look at it, and so my brother, who's doing great, he's got a great job, he's got a fucking master's degree in engineering. What if he decided to smoke weed or something? Who's to say that he wouldn't
just lose it all,
indulge into that, and gives no fucks, loses his job, or goes into harder things? No one can say that for sure, but that doesn't take away from it. but at the same time, it doesn't add to it. But if you look at the overall, there is a very large amount of people who come from lines of addiction that fall into it. And you fall into it, and there's nothing you can do. But if you can stay away from it, then you never know, and it's easier for you to stay away from it. And then by the time you do, like alcohol, which is legal and virtually acceptable in social norms, so then by the time you're old enough, and if you wait long enough and you start dibble dabbing, it's easier to dibble dab when everyone else is dibble dabbing because that's what everyone else is doing.
Yeah, it's that social peer pressure or whatever.
Right,
and that also.
But at the same time, your siblings.
That also backs up to what I'm saying about it being a socio disposition.
Right, but that doesn't mean that genetically it's a non-factor.
It's not necessarily a non-factor. It's not. No, I'm saying it's not necessarily a non-factor. Like there is a small factor of that in there. But to say that addiction bottom line is a as for that to be the absolute fucking dispo facto or whatever. Like that's the absolute root to what addiction is. Like, no, that's not it, dude. There's more to it than just genetics. There's the socio.
Right, just like in any
there's the socio factor.
Just oversimplify things.
Yeah.
Because if you oversimplify, you can find a statistic to back literally anything you say. That's why flat Earth bullshit is still going around. That's why people believe flat Earth still. And it's like, come on now.
I love the flat Earth conspiracy, but you already know why I love it.
That's why you have all of these other things that are just.
But that's what I'm saying.
You can't fathom why people believe this stuff. But you can find facts and you can find statistics. You can find all of these things to back certain thoughts. If you marginalize and simplify things. But if you intentionally choose to look at a statistic and just disconclude and just dismiss rather everything else in life, like, yeah, it's easy to do that.
No, I want to look at it.
But if you can see how dynamic life itself is,
I want to look at it.
Then it's not just a simple matter of nature versus nurture.
No, it's in three aspects.
And what I would say another one / drive.
It's a genetic disposition. It's a social disposition. It's an economic disposition. It's all
I wouldn't
three of
even
those.
go as far as economic, because if you have the drive to get out of a situation and you can stick to your guns, then it has nothing to do with economic. Just like your little sister, my little brother, and so many people that get out of being poor.
But that's part of the social. That's part of the social disposition because they're able to see what's going on in their lives. You know,
but economically, you can move yourself.
So then you can add a fourth. You can add a fourth as a personal disposition in there.
I wouldn't even say add a fourth. I'd say just disconclude economical, because economical reflects on your upbringing, which reflects on your parents' decisions before you. what they can provide for you, what they can do for you. That's the economical aspect of your upbringing. But if you have the drive to not want to be that, then you can pull yourself out of it. It's not easy by any means. I'm not saying anyone can do it. You have to be focused. You have to be determined. And you gotta have goals.
Anyone can, but it's all the
right. But you can fall victim to the social, and you can fall victim to what your mother, father, your grandpa, grandma. You can fall victim to all of that. That's what I'm saying is that if you stay focused and you're determined enough, you can move past that. So economic has no say or value in any of this.
You look at you look at success stories like Donald Glover and stuff like that. Someone who like literally started from the bottom.
You can literally find dozens, multiple of them stories.
Yeah.
But as you as an individual, as far as economical stance in the nature versus nurture / drive, which I'm adding drive, but all of that, the economical aspect are off of your parents' decisions. Because if they had drive enough to move up or whatever, I'm not saying it's easy. I'm not saying they don't have to work 3 jobs sometimes.
Right.
But those are decisions they made. They weren't strong enough to keep 3 jobs or work 3 jobs. Maybe they're like, fuck that 3rd job. I just want 2 and I can provide this. And I can move a step up instead of 3 steps up. I can do 2 steps
when
up.
Our parents were growing up, like
that doesn't reflect on you.
I know it doesn't reflect on us, but when our parents were growing up,
if your mom decides, your mom who's raised you by herself, and she's like, I'm gonna get 2 jobs, and I can provide this. I can get out of the situation we were in and get a slightly better situation instead of I can have 3 jobs. It'll be terrible, and I can move us up even further. But like finds out it's too much of a toll when she just decides to go with the 2 jobs, and what she can provide with the 2 jobs, that's what it is. But that doesn't reflect on you. So then you grow up thinking that 2 job shit is the norm, and you can.
I really did. But there was a time like when our parents were growing up in the 70s and 80s or whatever, like when you can just get out of high school and you can start working and you can support yourself, you can support a family. It wasn't until like
it was usually the man worked, the mom stayed.
Yeah, it wasn't
probably more
it wasn't until
the 60s and before.
It wasn't. It started to change more.
But
in the late 80s, early 90s.
Transition.
Yeah, in the 80s, and especially in the late 80s, in the early 90s, it transitioned a lot.
In the 90s, you had to have a dual income home.
Yeah.
So if you're a single parent, you're already working against the odds.
Yeah. So my mom had to work a lot. Like, to raise
not just
a
lot of
everybody. Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. So just based on that, you gotta have 3 jobs to move up so much. But that's hard.
But then also,
so you decide to settle for 2 jobs. 1 job would be easy. No job would.
If our parents didn't have to work as much, we'd have more nurture in our families to where the outbreak of the drug epidemic.
The funny thing that you say about that is the millennials, and I recently saw some shit that kind of supports what you're saying now, specifically here, not on the topic of what we're talking about, but because now kids have rights. You can't discipline your children the same as you could 20, 30, 40 years ago.
Right.
So you can't discipline them like you were disciplined,
right?
And then you go through, and then now you got information and technology.
You have all the information in your
so
pocket.
now you got all these millennials who put little effort and feel like they're entitled to more. And I mean, you can draw your own conclusions.
Technically, me and you are millennials, but.
See, no, we're in that transitional age. We grew up without the internet. Yeah. I didn't have the internet till I was like fucking. Well, I had the internet.
I had a buddy
when I was in middle school.
I had a buddy,
but it wasn't good at all.
I had a buddy.
It didn't even hold my interest.
I had a buddy that had AOL when we were in grade school, but he had parental control, so all we could really do was just go on chat rooms. So
right, but I had
we couldn't go on any websites at all.
I was in 6th or 7th grade the first time I had the internet personally.
Yeah.
And it wasn't enough to hold my interest. So I went to the old school methods to find. We're the last generation that in our lifetime, you know, the people born between 85 and probably like 93, 4, 5, you know, mid 90s to late 80s to mid 80s.
Yeah.
That actually grew up without all of those conveniences. I didn't have a fucking cell phone until I was in my 20s. I had my first pager when I was like
I think I got my first cell phone at 19 or whatever. My dad got me a Sprint plan with it.
And shit, you know? I didn't have internet worth doing anything on other than looking up random garbage that didn't hold my interest longer than 10 minutes until I was 18. Even then you came to my house. Like we used to go to my house just like because I had DSL. You had this shit. I was running dial-up. It took me fucking 5, 6, 7 days to download a 20-minute porno video. Like, it was terrible. So like that era is like a transitional thing.
Yeah.
But if you're born like after 95, like to me that's like the millennial. Like they by the time they were 10 o'clock, by the time they were 10 years old, they probably had cell phones. They had internet in their home. Yeah. They had access to all this shit that I never had until I was.
Them kids going up with leapfrogs and iPads and fucking like your son fucking hack the fucking NSA.
Dude, my son's doing YouTube videos.
That's what I'm saying. Your son could fucking hack the NSA and fucking like.
My son's 6 years old.
And I'm like, show me how to do that, Wesley.
My son's 6 years old talking about this is how you do this. Talking to no one but a camera and putting the shit on YouTube. He's fucking 6. My buddy, who his daughter is 9, 10, 11, that range, and she's talking about she's got 60-something followers on YouTube, and she's putting up fucking all this shit on YouTube, and she's not even a teenager, barely a teenager.
You remember Patrick's little sister, Haley? She was like a short, round, little fucking.
And he is 100% Christian. He's faith, God-fearing, all of that stuff.
He blocked me from Facebook because I kept on arguing with him about
that's cool, but
religious stuff or whatever.
But you see where I'm going here.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's no different than religion. Like you have your time off just to experience, just like. Obviously, I've never really met a Mormon, but I hear Mormons are allowed, once they hit a certain age, to experience the world. But a lot of times they just go right back to being Mormon.
The same thing with Amish, yeah.
It might even be Amish that I'm talking about.
Yeah, I think it's...
But still, it's like, okay, you're familiar, and then you're like, there's got to be more to this, and then you're frightened or whatever it is, You don't fit in. You can't keep up with the Joneses. Technology is way too much, which it is right now. And then you go right back into old habits. That's anyone. You go back to what you know.
Yeah, they've said the same thing with addicts, where you can leave your environment as much as you want, but you're going to attract yourself to the same type of crowd, no matter what.
And that's why addicts are never fully recovered. And that's why when they do fall back into old habits, it's called relapse. Because once you're an addict, you're addicted. That never goes away. So if you're an alcoholic, for example, and you can be sober for 10 years, once you have that first drink, you can fall right back into the same habits that you did 10 years prior. And it's a relapse. It's not anything else. So once you're addicted and once you have that taste for whatever the addiction is, you can always fall back into that trap. And that's what I'm saying, is that once you come from a line of that, predecessors, parents, grandparents, uncles, aunts, all of that, the more people that are in that category, then the higher chance you have to follow suit. So breaking away from the mold is not uncommon, but it's harder than most people want to give credit.
Absolutely,
to.
I'm not gonna argue
the line
against
between
that
nature and nurture is very fine.
Yeah.
And it comes down to an individual's drive and an individual's need to experience certain things. So in those instances where, like, my little brother, your little sister, and those things, it's like, okay, some people have the capacity to learn from other people's mistakes. Some people don't. So if you have a line of addiction and you're like, okay, well, both of my parents were addicts. My aunt was an addict. My grandma was an addict. But my grandpa was good. You might look up to that grandpa higher or think higher of that person. But at the same time, you might even mold yourself more towards that person. But knowing all the other shit of addiction, even inadvertently, like you might not fully comprehend it, but you know it's there.
Right.
And then you can be like, oh, well, my mom was an alcoholic and my dad was a drug addict. I don't want to do that. I don't want to
brings up that self-awareness.
And then you
that's that personal
go
drive.
through.
Yeah.
And that's that perseverance. That's that. Oh, well, so-and-so, that's that LeBron James or that Kevin Garnett. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Hall of Fame careers. They're going to be in the Hall of Fame. They have to be. They're not now, but it's like, it's going to happen. But they never went to college. Whereas 90% of the people who never went to college that played in the pros, irrelevant, role players, whatever. There's a margin. So, what else do you do? You fall into that. Or you keep fighting. Some people have the drive to keep fighting. But it's exponentially easier to just fall into the groove. That is a large portion.
It is.
That is a very large portion, because just like that just puts you at a greater disadvantage. That means to persevere and to work through it is even harder than other people.
Yeah.
So and you gotta know, and you have to have the ability to look past that, and you have to have the ability to not be enticed, and you gotta fight through, and it's exponentially harder, because in the back of your mind, you know, you're like, okay, well, my whole family have these problems, but I don't want to be a part of that. Like, I want to do more with my life, and that's where it comes through. That's where them exceptions are. So You just gotta work hard, and it's harder than anything else.
Oh,
Just
absolutely.
fighting that. But the hereditary fucking addiction is real because that just not saying that it can't be done, but it just makes it that much harder to know that that's where you come from. And not only that, it makes it that much easier to fall into that. Because then, not only is it harder to get away from it, it's easier to make it an excuse. Because now you're like,
That's true.
my parents were
That's
addicts,
true. Yeah.
so
You use that as a
why
scapegoat.
wouldn't I
You
be?
use that as a scapegoat
So
to make
you-
an excuse for
You
your shitty
smoke
life.
weed,
Yeah.
or you drink beer, or you try heroin, whatever the fucking vice is, and you're like, it's just easier because now you have an excuse that people can't refute because of statistics. But it's that much harder to get past that. So the people that can work past that, like, they should be praised. Like, that's you did it, or you are doing it. Like, because it's so easy to take that as an excuse to take the easy path, and for you to choose the hard road, like, it's just crazy. And to me personally, I'm one of those people. I have to experience life. Not saying I will never smoke crack. You know, like, I won't shoot heroin. I won't do any of that shit. But I've tried, like, acid and mushrooms and weed. You know what I'm saying? So, for me personally, it's like I had to try it. I had to find out what the hype was about.
People some praise for it, like, and so, and also with
And
that
that
praise,
path-
I bring some encouragement. Like, yeah, don't. If you
That
haven't done
path-
it yet, dude, then don't do it now because it's really not.
But
Like,
that path is so much harder if you come from that line. But if you come from parents and grandparents who never did it either, like, yeah, it's that much easier. You frown upon people
Yeah.
like me and you. You know?
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, fucking drug addict. Oh, what the fuck, dude? It's frowned upon. And their glass ceiling is much higher. But their bottom is much higher than ours as well. So the range is different. It might be the same range, but the range is much lower in all aspects. You know? I'm not saying that you can't match that with dedication, a lifetime of, like, hard work.
right.
You can match that, but overall, in general, that's so much hard work that you won't attain the high end, and the low end is so much lower than those people. So the range is different, and it's crazy. But I think the genetic, and it could be genetic, it could just be a perception of genetic, but I feel like that's real as can be. Because, like, I know a whole lot of people who go into addiction. Whether you admit it or not is a different story. Whether you can accept the other factors that go into your vices is a different story. But you can't deny the fact that if your parents did drugs, you're going to try it too. And if your parents did drugs and you never try them, you, like, that's a feat in itself, man. You should be applauded. If you come from a line of addiction and you never even indulged once, that's a goddamn.
No, yeah, dude, give that motherfucker, and not a participation trophy, but a real goddamn trophy, because, man, that's a fucking feat. And
Hey, those are the LeBron James and the Kevin Garnett's in life. Not just sports, life.
All right. So, what do you guys think about this whole topic about with addiction being genetic or socio or other? Leave that in the comments below if you want to talk further about it. And don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button. And we'll see you next week when I'm either possibly going to be doing a Black Panther review for the movie if I see that this weekend, or we're gonna be doing something else with video games that we'd like to reboot and turn into the other shows for social media news on Wednesdays. Timone answers everything on Thursdays, and our new show that we just started this week or last week. On the road with Nasser Radabi is your host, and
fuck everything he's talking about.
We air that on Friday.
Next week we're talking about how regular Nintendo games are so much harder than any new game you'll ever play. Cuphead, anything now, like. Regular Nintendo is fucking hard.
Oh, dude, if you want to see some videos on that, we'll put on Angry Video Game Nerd. But yeah, we'll see you next week, and yeah, check it.